Who are you? That's the song that I heard when I began my meditation, was, The Who. It's a song from, I think, 1978. And it was very prominent in my mind while I was meditating, so I wrote it down. And the lyrics are interesting. It's about, I think he had a fist fight with someone, or it was a verbal argument. I can't recall. It's a song about a conflict, I think, if I remember correctly. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something in that song for you. I also saw a magenta pole, of energy, like a beam of energy. And it was surmounted by a circle around it. I kind of drew a quick thing, just a simple, lollipop-looking thing. And yeah, it was just a pole of energy and a circle of energy around it. And it was like a pinkish magenta shape. And I sat with it and just kind of looked at it in my mind's eye, waiting for it to do something. It didn't really do anything, just radiating light. And I asked, what is this? And I just heard the words, "It is time and pain and acupuncture." I have no idea what that means. It's very specific. I don't know. I won't interpret that. I'll let you come to terms with that. And then I sat in the meditation for a little bit longer, and my nose began to feel really heavy, and it lengthened. It felt like it was lengthening downward. So I sort of thought of Pinocchio. His lengthens outward, but still, that was the first thing I thought of, was Pinocchio. And my nose, it just felt so heavy, and it just felt like it was growing in a downward direction. And then I pulled an itching hexagram, and I got hexagram 31, mutual influence, with one changing line down at the bottom. So changes to hexagram 49, abolishing the old. Here we have an image of a lake over a mountain. That makes me think of a lake that sort of has a sinking downward into the mountain and nourishing the mountain. This idea of mutual influence is about interrelationships, like complementary opposites. We have things like heaven and earth, husband and wife, parent and child, high and low, hot and cold, fire and water. These sorts of ideas and the interrelationships that come from opposites. Now, there's an important law in Hermeticism that reality exists because of the interactions of opposites, that there are many poles, many spectra of opposites in this world, and the interactions of these opposites are what give rise to third things. If you have two poles, they interact and other things come into existence, and this is how basically phenomena exist, because of the interaction of complementary opposites. So, a husband and a wife produce a child is one thing. Hot and cold produce all of basically the motion of the elements. And these opposites, even though they are opposites, have a power of attraction one toward the other. So we have this idea within these polarities of moving the heart center toward each other. There's a lot about having your heart moved or moving someone's heart, because ultimately this symbol here, mutual influence, it is the first hexagram in the I Ching that is part of what's known as the lower canon. There's the upper canon, which deals with more lofty, transcendent, philosophical, and heavenly ideas, more spiritual ideas. And then the lower canon, hexagrams 31 to 64, deal with human affairs and worldly stuff. And this is the first in that canon, in that lower canon. And it is indicative of a newly wedded couple. So marriage is very auspicious at this time. Romance is very auspicious at this time. There's the idea of pursuit or mutual interest in a relationship. And the idea of union is very strong. And this doesn't have to be a romantic union. This could be a union of any kind, like a business partnership, a friendship, or just two things coming together that mutually influence each other. So the best way for mutual influence to have a beneficial result is if the intentions are pure, if there's a selflessness here. It's very tempting to enter into unions, whether they're romantic unions or economic unions or social unions or anything like that, political unions, where it's very, very difficult not to be selfish, because a lot of joining into a union is to get something from it. There are desires or needs that we have that we want to have met. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But if you are looking for help from someone, you also have to have something to offer. You must question, like, what do you give in return for their help, for their assistance, for their love, for their support, for their connection? What is it that you bring to the table as well? Because if you're going to be receiving, giving is also necessary here. And without that, the relationship falls apart. If there are selfish motives here, either on your part or on their part, it's not going to work out. Because I also got the closed fist and the sorcerer for my own divination tool that I developed. I got two symbols for you. One is the closed fist, and this connotes a bit of a defensiveness or offensiveness, a bit of combativeness here, and a little bit of secrecy, like strategic secrecy. So it's possible that you're holding something back, or the partner here, the other person or party in this reading is holding something back, or is in a bit of a like a defensive or offensive state, a conflicting state, or a nervous state, or a not so open state. And having the sorcerer in combination with this, the sorcerer is kind of like the inverted magician. The sorcerer is someone who has a plan, a scheme is a more appropriate term, is someone who is performing an operation, doing something because they have a goal in mind. And they turned to the magic arts for their own self-interest because they know that they can gain power from these, right? That's what the difference between a sorcerer and a magus. A magus is someone who seeks knowledge and harmony. A sorcerer is someone who is just looking for gain in some way. So this person, I don't know if it's you or the other party, seems to have a scheme up their sleeve. And it's important to look out for that not everything is as it seems. And of course, the growing nose that I felt earlier, it could have something to do with lying. You know, you have that basic Disney interpretation that a nose that grows shows that somebody is lying or being dishonest about something. Also, a nose represents curiosity, kind of like sticking your nose into someone's business. And it was growing downwards, so maybe there's some curiosity about lower things, curiosity about finances, curiosity about subconscious urges, curiosity about these sorts of, I don't want to say secretive things, but like private things, right? And this hexagram of mutual influence has a little bit to do with social engineering. I know that sounds weird, but mutual influence has a lot to do as well with like changing people's moods and ideas, and this can occur in things like propaganda, or the music industry is a good example where you can use music to change people's moods, and you can use artwork to subconsciously shift somebody's perceptions of reality, and this is a mutual influence. Artists influence society, society influences the artist, and there may be a good mutual influence, a beneficial type of social engineering, or a bad type, where the social engineers are seeking to gain something. So at this time, it would probably be wise, I mean, it's always wise, to guard against deception, manipulation, propaganda, maybe avoid pop music or the so-called manufactured mainstream music. They put lots of subliminal stuff in there that we really shouldn't expose ourselves to. The news media does the same. Social media does the same. Look out for those types of influences at this time, these sort of secretive influences, these ways in which people can change each other and manipulate each other. There's a lot of attention being brought to that right now. The idea here is to become resistant to it. Now, another aspect of mutual influence, like the heaven and earth and hot and cold and high and low and all that, is this idea of hierarchy. But the good kind, the natural, organic kind of hierarchy that's rooted in respect for one another, rooted in real accomplishment, rooted in spirituality. You know, when you want to seek a teacher, the teacher should be knowledgeable in their field and wise in the way that they interact with people and have a pure intention, a pure heart for what it is that they're teaching and doing and why they became so good at it. And obviously people like that earn our respect and we have no problem following them and they become a leader. And that's how a natural organic hierarchy is formed. You know, it's not like some bureaucratic hierarchy where people demand respect for no reason or demand obedience for no reason. This is a hierarchy that is just right and natural, like a cosmic hierarchy. So pay attention to maybe your ideas around hierarchy and make sure that the people that you're following, the people that lead you, are worthy of you following them. Or if you yourself are in a leadership position or are seeking a leadership position, make sure your intentions are pure and that you can really inspire loyalty from your heart, really, from just being a good example, from having good spiritual discipline and having beneficial actions, doing beneficial actions and whatnot. And try not to be the sorcerer. If this sounds like it might be you, try and turn that sorcerer into the magician, to the magus. Change the closed fist into, maybe you don't have to turn it into the open fist. You know, there are times where defense and offense are necessary, but make sure your fist isn't closed out of tension and anger. Make sure it's closed because you have a good reason to close it, and not out of any sort of lower or selfish reason. Now your changing line here changes mutual influence into abolishing the old. This is all just beginning. There might be someone romantically beginning to pursue someone else, or there might be someone beginning to pursue a partnership or a relationship in some way, some type of union. Someone has the intention of bringing a union together, whether it's in business or love. And the outcome is uncertain, whether it will be fortunate or misfortunate, unfortunate, will depend entirely on the purity of the intentions of the parties involved and the reason for trying to create this union. And it might not really be able to take its first steps forward right now because more preparations need to be made. It's just an initial step. So all you can do on your side is make sure that your intentions are pure and do your best to probe the intentions of the other party. Now, don't breach any privacy or do anything like shady or whatever, anything untoward, because looking into the intentions of others can also have bad, corrupt intentions if you do it out of fear or paranoia or something like that, or your own form of selfishness. You want to uncover their secrets, you want to know how their subconscious works so that you can poke and prod and manipulate them or protect yourself from someone you might not trust. There are these selfish, paranoid reasons for doing it. Learn about the other party in a way that's above board, in a way that's pure-hearted, in a way that makes sense, because you want this union to work properly. So don't do it surreptitiously or sub rosa. Just be upfront about what it is and protect yourself in the process. So here we have all of this coming together is just the heart of earning respect and loyalty because it is deserved and not because it is demanded. So let's get into the tarot and see what else we got. I'm going to pull a few cards here, see if we can clarify any of this. So the first thing I want to clarify is this thing that I saw, this magenta pole of light energy surmounted by a circle. So what was that? What was that about? How does it relate to the viewers here, to the people watching this? Oh, interesting. The Wheel of Fortune. So this is the Wheel of Fortune. And I got, it is time and pain and acupuncture. So the first thing I'm thinking is breaking a cycle of time. You know, oftentimes we have repeating cycles, and repeating cycles happen everywhere in nature and in civilizations. You know, civilizations rise and fall, flowers sprout and die, and seeds are planted, and so on. And there are many natural, inescapable cycles, but here we're talking about an escapable cycle. I think maybe that's what the pole is. So if there's a wheel and a line coming out of it, that is a symbol for like escaping a cycle. And like either being in the center of the wheel so that you're not moving, or just escaping the wheel entirely. I am just reminded of what's called the Chakravartin, which is a Sanskrit term. It essentially means the wheel turner. But what it is in the mythological sense or in the spiritual sense is the universal king, the universal ruler of the world, is somebody who is utterly spiritually enlightened, a sort of King Arthur type, who basically is immovable and still in the transcendent higher consciousness, and everything turns around this ruler or this being in the center of the wheel. And the wheel turns, but the ruler does not. It's sort of that eternal hub of the wheel. Maybe this idea is important to you, understanding the like characteristics of a universal ruler. You know, that's someone who is not moved by contingent reality. You know, someone who is in total control of their emotions and passions, someone who has conquered themselves, right? The one who conquers himself is greater than the one who conquers a city. For the one who conquers a city is ruler for a day, and the one who conquers himself is ruler for eternity. So there's some cycle here that you can transcend, escape from, or be in the center of, where you are no longer affected by it, where the perception of time is something that you see instead of feel now, and you can maybe escape from something that's been repeating beyond necessity. You've learned the lesson, and it's time to move on from it, or to find a different way to achieve your goal. I think perhaps one of the ways that you are trying to go about something is it's just not working quite well enough. And it might have something to do because either yours or someone else's intentions are impure because of it, and so the wheel keeps restarting, the cycle keeps restarting and spinning because of a lack of forthrightness in the pursuit of this goal. Let's pull another card here, and let's see about the nose. The lengthening nose. Oh, we have the Nine of Swords. So here, this is a kind of, this has some lunar energy, a little bit of Martian energy, air. There could be something, you know, sometimes when we lie, we feel really guilty about it, and it keeps us awake at night. or if we're worried somebody's lying, especially someone close to us or someone who has an important part to play in our lives or someone who has influence over our lives, it can rack our nerves. So there's some type of anxiety here that's rooted in either curiosity or lying. And this person, I think, might be lying about money. We have the King of Pentacles. If that's the case, well, there could be worse things to lie about. At least this is like a material concern and not a spiritual concern, not an emotional concern. Not that it's not affecting your emotions, but, there are, sometimes people lie about money to keep us on a leash or to prevent us from doing something. They tell us they have less money than they really do, or maybe they tell us that they have more money than they really do. Whatever it is, it's meant for basically social engineering to manipulate and keep someone stuck where they are. So look out for that. That might have to do with the closed fist and the sorcerer. That might have something to do with the thing that we're supposed to pay attention to. And so if this is a economic or financial concern that's keeping you awake at night, well, one thing, I know this is difficult to hear, but try to remove your emotionality, your emotional attachment to money. If there is like a material loss or something, we feel the loss intently because maybe we're embarrassed about how we lost the money or why. Maybe it was like a scam that we fell for. I've fallen for a scam before, and you feel really stupid. But then you realize, like, okay, I can make the money back. Like, it's not the end of the world, and you kind of have to choose to not have an attachment to that money, and then you eventually stop caring about it. Now, I know it's very difficult because some of us are in quite dire straits, and it's really difficult to not be emotionally attached to money, and to be annoyed with the people who kind of dangle it over our heads like a carrot on a stick. It's like a dollar on a stick sometimes, and it's really difficult to remove our emotionality in that situation, especially if we need it or feel like we need it or really need it to fill our stomachs. But try your best to transcend the turmoil of the emotionality that's attached to money at this time, or attached to deceptions about money or manipulations about money, and free yourself from any type of manipulation by removing how you feel about money. That could be the key to breaking a cycle of this, is feeling dependent on a particular person because of the way that they interact with money, or feeling dependent on a particular circumstance or job because you have money worries and you feel you need to stay in a particular situation and keep spinning the wheel of fortune. And the reason you're stuck there is because you think you're stuck there. You feel you need to stay there. And if you can transcend that feeling of, I feel I have to be here, don't say that to yourself anymore. And just don't feel that about it anymore. I know this is difficult to hear, but trust that there's money everywhere in this world and many ways of getting it, and you will find another way. Just trust yourself that you can find another way and break out of this cycle here. So I'm going to pull a token for you. One last thing to tie this all together. Let's see here. Yeah, just look to your heart. Purify your heart. There's a lot of heavy feeling here. I can feel it like weighing down, but I also feel like exciting chills and tingles, like you're making a breakthrough in a positive way, like a heaviness is becoming a lightness, a burden is being seen through, and you're becoming free now. I can feel like a sadness transmuting into a happiness is sort of the vibe. A dullness is transmuting into an excitedness, and it's because you simply see how your emotion in this case is working, And because you can see how it's working, you can change how it works and change what it's attached to. What is this? The prison. Yeah, this is about feeling stuck in a pretty awful situation. Is it this way? This way. So here, this is again, this is in my set of cubes, and you see that little cube shape at the top, which connotes material things or hardened things. You are probably feeling that Nine of Swords energy, and yeah, this is just kind of confirming that you can break free by purifying your intentions and by finding people who have pure intentions. Going back to that natural hierarchy. Oh, I just got it. Avoid the bureaucratic hierarchy and seek the natural organic hierarchy. I think that can go for pretty much everybody in our modern, economically, bureaucratically oriented society, where credentials and certifications and sizes of bank accounts are how we rise through the social hierarchy, right? The currency of the current social ladder is currency. But there are real hierarchies that are not so artificial and contrived. There are hierarchies based on spiritual superiority. Not the arrogant kind of superiority, but spiritual discipline, spiritual wisdom, and things like that, which create leaders and followers and mutual respect and love for each other. The higher loves the lower love the higher inspires the lower follows the higher, and it's mutually beneficial. And it's not like the person higher up on this natural organic hierarchy is some type of, undeserving leader. This person is just higher up on a natural hierarchy because they put the work in, they've got the charisma, and they have proven themselves worthy of a leadership position because they do things that are of benefit to everyone, and they have a great deal of wisdom. So get out of whatever bureaucratic and economic hierarchical situation you're in and seek people out who understand the natural and organic hierarchy of mutual support, mutual respect, mutual benefit based on those spiritual values or those inner values that we have. And natural hierarchies are very fluid. One day this person's the leader in this situation, but then the next day another person's the leader in the situation. And the previous leader then submits to this leader because the situation changed and the other person is now more suited for this task and the other person is more suited to follow. And as long as you respect each other and trust each other, then you don't really care who the leader is. You know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you just accomplish tasks based on mutual understanding and respect and love and trust. That's another thing, is finding people that you can trust. So this is about pure intentions and impure intentions. This is about natural organic hierarchy and inorganic bureaucratic and economic hierarchy, and removing your emotionality and your attachments to the contrived artificial hierarchy and seeking out ways of perhaps supporting yourself financially or simply emotionally and spiritually, or all of the above, by finding people that you can inherently trust who have intentions as pure as yours, who look at their intentions, who are constantly self-examining. Those are the types of people you can trust, people who care about self-awareness and attempt self-awareness and the purification of their intentions. They understand how their actions affect other people. And surround yourself with those types of people and seek union with those types of people. And you'll find that you can avoid the social engineering and the manipulation and the secrecy and the sorcery, and all of that stuff will start to just drift away out of your life, and you will be separated from all of that crap that unfortunately is quite common in the modern world. I'm not going to get into that. You know, I'm sure I don't need to explain it. But I feel that there's a breaking free coming soon, and you're at the initial steps of it. So preparations need to be made. Don't take careless, thoughtless actions here to break free from the cycle, but prepare yourself for what needs to be done. Take the steps that you need to take. Lay the groundwork for your escape, and you will succeed. You will find what you're looking for, because it's inevitable, essentially. When people act in a beneficial mutual influence, then no prison can hold you for very long. There's a simple process that gets you out through mutual respect and purity of intention. You'll find that there's no reason for you to remain in that prison cell, and that there are people willing to help you get out. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. That feels like the end of this reading. So thank you so much for stopping by. I always appreciate you hanging out with me. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.